You're listening to the Vikes Verified podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Vikes Verified podcast. This is episode 81, presented by Pull Tab Sports. We are live from Cub Studios out here in Stillwater, Minnesota. Very excited for this episode. We've got former Gopher and NFL Combine attendee Brevyn Spann-Ford joining us, talk a little bit about his future in the NFL.
Yeah, looking forward to that great interview we had on site there, and an awesome person, so looking forward to his career in the NFL. But before we get into that, the Vikes Verified podcast is sponsored by Chill Boys. Chill Boys, no friction zone combined with the cooling effect of the bamboo fabric will feel like menthol on your man parts. You'll be as cool as the other side of the pillow. Don't take our word for it. Try Chill Boys' life-changing bamboo boxers and boxer briefs for yourself. Visit chillboys.com and use promo code PULLTAB15 for 15% off your order.
And the Vikes Verified podcast also sponsored by Duke Cannon. You need to go to dukecannon.com right now and check out some of these deals on their spring sale right now. Up to 50% off. You can get their thick hair wash. You can get the best damn beard amplifier you can find. This is locally based right here in Minneapolis. Support a local brand. Some of the best products on the market. dukecannon.com.
Welcoming on to the Vikes Verified podcast, we have Minnesota tight end Brevyn Spann-Ford. Brevyn, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Appreciate having you on here. I'd like to dive in by starting to touch on some of your experience post-college, now leading into the draft. You had a chance to play in the Senior Bowl, and you actually did a very good job in practices and were able to score a touchdown in the game as well. What was that experience like, and what teams did you get a chance to talk to? And maybe it was a bunch, but just kind of an overall explanation on that experience for you and what that meant to play in the Senior Bowl.
Yeah. First and foremost, it was a tremendous honor to play at the Reese's Senior Bowl. Having invites to both the Reese's and the East-West was a tremendous honor, and going to be able to meet a bunch of players from all across the country was really cool. Obviously, you get to catch touchdowns from Bo Nix, things like that. Just get to, see these guys up close and practice with them, learn from them. It was a tremendous experience for sure.
That's awesome. Leading up to the draft, are you working at Training House right now? What's your kind of schedule look like in terms of training, preparing for the NFL draft this April?
Yeah, so I spent the last 2 months in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, working out with my agency is Vayner Sports.
Okay, yep.
So we worked out in Fort Lauderdale, did all of our training there, and then now I'm back in Minnesota for our pro day on Thursday. So I'll be here till the draft, working out. I've recently just started working out at Tria Game Face,
okay,
which is a new facility over in St. Louis Park. So that's been fun as well.
Very solid. Touch on your Reese's Senior Bowl experience. Obviously, the Minnesota Vikings are in the market for the quarterback of the future after these recent events have came through. Spending time with Bo Nix, Michael Penix, Spencer Rattler, Joe Milton, some of those guys, seeing how they kind of operate in practice. Was there anything that really stuck out to you from those guys and how they kind of handle, say, groups of teammates they haven't really been around before?
Yeah, getting to meet all those guys. They're tremendous, high-character guys. They're all going to do tremendous things at the next level and for an NFL team. But I'll definitely say, our team had Bo Nix, Penix, and Hartman. Mm-hmm. And all those guys were just super fun to be around, tremendous workers, very flexible and able to, work with all of us and be able to, kind of on the fly learn a whole new offense for the week. And they all did tremendous in the game. And, Sam played most of the game. But, throughout the practice week, Bo and Michael Penix were also doing their thing. So it was really cool to play with them and cool to get to meet them.
For sure, yeah. What a group of seniors, too. I mean, there's a ton of leadership for all those guys, and I think they all have a great chance to find themselves in a good situation at the next level for sure. Kind of moving forward to, the Minnesota Gophers experience a little bit. You had quite the career there. You've played with some current NFL players, including one in your position group in Cole Kieft, in particular, Super Bowl champion with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What is your relationship like with Cole to this day, and what has he kind of told you leading up to this process?
Me and Cole have always had a good relationship in terms of, he's always been there for me. Always able to, give me constructive criticism, let me know what things I need to get better at. But it's really just been really lighthearted conversations. He, tells me to just enjoy the process. The last time I talked to him, he was giving me shit about my 40 times and stuff like that. And I'm like, dude, I ran a faster 40 than you.
Yeah, not bad. I was gonna say sub 4.8. You gotta feel pretty good about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's a great dude, tremendous worker, and I've definitely gotten a lot of my work ethic from my time in college from him. So I'm incredibly grateful for him.
That's great.
Awesome. Well, coming into college, you were known more for some of your more athletic skills, the receiving side of things, coming into the U of M. But during your time at Minnesota, we did run a primarily run-oriented offense. How did that help improve your games in terms of blocking, schematics, and overall physicality at the tight end position?
Going into recruiting, looking back on it now, I feel like I was trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. My skill set didn't really match our offense, but I feel like I was able to, elevate our tight end room in the sense of pass game and things like that, and so that we were incorporated more. And throughout the years, our production continued to stack. So I would definitely say just getting in with those guys who were primarily blockers and learning from them. At first it was something that I thought I could never do, but now looking back on it, those guys, I needed them. I needed them for sure. So.
Definitely, and I think it ended up, giving yourself a more balanced game, right? No denying your skills, catching the ball and receiving, but now you pair that with the physicality side of things. I think that pairs well leading into the NFL. So, like you said, it might have been an odd fit at the beginning, but overall worked out for you. During your time at the U of M, as a Gopher fan, I got to know, was there a favorite game that you had? I might have a guess, but I got to hear maybe your favorite game as a Gopher.
There's a lot of great games when I've just these past couple months I've been just reflecting on my college career. The ones that come to mind for me is definitely Auburn in 2019, Penn State that year as well.
Yeah, I figured Penn State was up there.
And then beating Wisconsin back to back was up there for me as well.
Yes, sir. Nothing better than beating the Badgers, man. I'm always on board with that one.
100%. So looking forward to your, future in the NFL. You see a lot of teams, incorporating tight ends. They split them out very frequently. Big time red zone threats. Give me 3 tight ends in the NFL that you kind of maybe want to craft your game around or emulate a little bit.
I would definitely say Mark Andrews, his versatility and ability to help in the pass game and the run game in his offense. I'll say my second one, I'll be probably Kittle. His tenacity in the run game, I love that, and then his ability to make plays. He's a very talented player. And then for my last one, I'll probably say Dallas Goedert.
Okay.
His run after the catch is some of the best I've ever seen from a tight end. So I'd definitely say Dallas Goedert.
100%. That's a good list. Absolutely. So I'm going to give you just a hypothetical scenario here. We're going to say, you're in the league. We're down 6. We're on the 8-yard line. We got a chance to score and take the lead here. We know it's man coverage. What route do you want to be running?
Fade.
Fade all day. Throw it up.
I never ran a lot of fades at Minnesota, but that was something like in high school. That was all I would do in high school. So
little slot fade. I could see it. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great list of guys, and I think you got a good opportunity to kind of pick some things and really round off your skill set as you get into the NFL.
Yeah, and being from Minnesota, you've had a chance now to not only play high school here and then go into college. What would it mean to you to be able to be drafted by the Vikings and continue your journey playing in your home state?
It would definitely be special. My first NFL game was watching Adrian Peterson break the rookie rushing record against the Chargers.
Yeah.
So that, the Vikes have always been super special to me. And, I'm always following. And, I've been to plenty of games. So to be a part of their organization would be awesome.
And for those fans who may not know as much about you, when you get to the NFL, what do you envision yourself bringing to whatever team, gives you that opportunity in the locker room and on the field?
I would just say someone with high character, loyalty, someone who's willing to work hard and earn the things that are given to them.
Awesome.
100%. Do you have a list of a couple quarterbacks that might be your favorite in the league?
I would say number 1 is probably Lamar Jackson. 2, Hmm. Two, I'm gonna go with. I'm not gonna lie. I like Justin Fields.
Yeah, hey,
I love
no
that.
denying
Yeah.
his talent, man.
I think he's got a sticky situation on his hands for sure, but I
Yep.
think he's a very underrated quarterback in the NFL.
Okay.
And then
Yeah.
Josh Allen for sure.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance that someone's going to realize Justin Fields' worth here soon enough. Really shocked at the market and him not finding that starting job yet, but I really respect that list. You kind of look at the Ravens. Yeah, one more.
Trey Lance. Shout out my guy Trey Lance.
Yes. Don't
Yeah, let's go. Hey man, that'd be cool. We
were trying to get him back here to Minnesota.
Yeah,
we
we've
were trying to get
speculated
the
the
rumors rolling.
homecoming, man. We've speculated the homecoming. It would not be a bad thing at all. I mean,
Oh.
hasn't really gotten the right opportunity yet.
He
and we
hasn't
think,
gotten a fair shake.
This is our current roster right now where, it's really quarterback friendly. I feel like it's a situation a lot of guys would really like to find themselves in for sure.
Most definitely.
Speaking of former Gophers, we did actually happen to sign one of your past teammates, Blake Cashman. Is there anything for Vikings fans that we should maybe know about Cashman's game or maybe who he is in the locker room?
I feel like this past year he showed tremendously the type of player he is. He's going to make an instant impact on that defense, and I can't wait to see him back home. It's going to be cool. I saw him. I think I saw him last year during their off season. At the facility. So, it's always good to see Cash. He's a great dude. And he'll also be able to help a lot with stuff off the field and, giving back to the community. So, there's no negatives in that signing at all.
Yeah, excited to have him back.
He's a tackling machine. I really like D'Amico Ryans kind of got, the best out of him down there in Houston. I think Brian Flores is going to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But speaking of the Ravens, I wanted to touch on that again. You kind of see them running that 2 tight end system, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely. They do a good job incorporating those tight ends all over the field. If you were to come in the NFL right now, what do you think your best asset as a player would be? Would you lean more towards receiving and yards after the catch, or would you lean more into the blocking game?
I definitely see myself leaning more into the blocking game right now, just because of my size and my frame and tenacity. I feel like there's a lot of tight ends in the league right now that are around like the 230, 240 mark, whereas I'm more towards the 260, 265, and just being able to move people off the ball is something that'll tremendously help an offense. So.
100%, yeah. And we were just talking about like relative athletic score. I don't know if you pay attention to any of that stuff, but the metrics for the size is something that's very enticing for teams. So we're really excited to see what kind of opportunities you get, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir. I think that wraps it up. We got to get a little bit more of an inside perspective at who you are on and off the field. But again, really appreciate the time. Best of luck leading up to the draft. And we're hoping that, maybe there's a fun chance that we can keep you in Minnesota a little bit longer.
Let's go for the trifecta, high school, college, and the pros.
Win it, man. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely,
No
man.
problem.
Take it easy. Good luck with everything.
Appreciate you.
All right, Matt, we're going to get into it here. One of the busiest days of the year, NFL free agency officially begun. The Vikings came out swinging, making a plethora of different moves that we didn't expect. We had some players leave that maybe we did expect. Let's break it all down, starting with Kirk Cousins, the biggest domino to fall, Matt. We knew that this one probably wasn't attainable when we saw that Atlanta was interested. Simply willing to give up more guaranteed money, willing to give him the contract structure he's looking for, and gets a 4-year, $180 million deal. What was your immediate reaction to this deal?
Yeah, I mean, it shows you why the Vikings stood their ground on the number that they were at. And Kwesi has been very vocal about drawing a line in the sand and not going past it. And we got to fully witness that yesterday, seeing what the Falcons were able to give. And obviously there's a pretty big disconnect between what we're offering and what the Falcons offered. So, the Falcons, it's very interesting. They are in the scenario that we were in when we first signed Cousins. They were having troubles with QBs, has an older owner who's looking to win now and has a roster around them that they always felt like they're one quarterback away. So now you see the Falcons kind of stepping into our role and paying up. But in this case, they're paying a 36-year-old coming off an Achilles injury. So a lot to bet on for the Falcons. And, at the end of the day, it sucks to see Kirk Cousins go, but I think we've done a great job utilizing that cap space that we know we have now. and, bringing in multiple additions on the defensive side. We've made a couple impact re-signings. So overall, I'm pretty happy about it, but it is tough to see him go.
Yeah, nothing but love and respect for Kirk Cousins. Let's get that out there right now. We loved all 6 years he had to bring. But, every good story has an ending at some point, and he was able to just get one playoff win. I think, last year when we played the Giants at home in the playoffs, that was a real chance to kind of rewrite his legacy as a Viking. Maybe would have earned the longer-term deal. Who knows? But tremendous quarterback, very above-average player. He's going to probably get the Falcons to the playoffs in the first year, I would imagine. Great guy on and off the field, but, ultimately doesn't work out. And as a head coach and GM, you got to plan for the best success in the future. And I think that, we're starting to now see that plan unfold. And that is with the quarterback not having us in a cap space chokehold, essentially, able to build the roster in other ways. So let's get started here. We come out in free agency immediately, pick up Jonathan Greenard from the Houston Texans. We pick him up on a 4-year, $76 million deal, $42 million guaranteed. We get, a premier edge rusher in free agency for under $20 million a year. I think this is kind of a home run signing out of the gate. He's 26 years old, coming off his rookie contract. Tremendous production in Houston, 12.5 sacks last year. He's not Danielle Hunter, but he's got a good motor, and he's 3 or 4 years younger than Danielle Hunter. So I think this is a great signing, and I think the best football is ahead for Jonathan Greenard.
Yeah, I thought we did a great job replacing Danielle Hunter. Unfortunately, another longtime Viking that just signed with the Houston Texans, so his days in Minnesota are ending. But I thought Kwesi was able to replace that with Greenard, who's 3 years younger, also put up 12.5 sacks last year, so very productive pass rusher. But I think what really put it over the top was the addition of Van Ginkel as well. Van Ginkel is only getting $7 million guaranteed per year, and I think I want to say Greenard's about 10. So you're looking at in total about 17 mil. So you get two players in terms of what you're paying versus just paying Danielle Hunter. So I thought they did a fantastic job of not only getting a 2-for-1, but also getting one of the players that has experience in Flores' defense. He was one of Flores' draft picks when he was a head coach there, has experience, so that transition should be a little bit easier for him. But overall, I think the ability to get a little bit younger and still add another edge player, it's a win. It's a win in my book.
100%, and I think Van Ginkel, Iowa native, he fits the Viking mold. You just look at him physically.
Badger, unfortunately, but
yes, Badger as well. But he's a chess piece for Flores. You can move him, on either side of the ball against the right or left tackle. He's very quick, explosive first step. He can also play a little bit of inside backer if you needed him to. He's just a versatile piece, and you see the creativity that Brian Flores uses with his alignments and creating different matchups. I think he's going to be a good weapon for him. So it's very nice to go out and get those two edges, and then we bring in a middle backer as well. I end up losing Jordan Hicks. He signs a 2-year, $8 million deal with the Cleveland Browns. He's kind of on the back end of his production. We bring in the hometown kid, Eden Prairie native and former Golden Gopher Blake Cashman, coming off probably his best year of his career as well. D'Amico Ryans seemed to unlock him down in Houston. He stayed healthy. He's a tackling machine, just a sure tackling guy. Great instincts, and he had a heck of a year last year. We signed him 3 years, worth up to $25.5 million, but it's really a 2-year deal if you look at it. But good job from his agency here in Minneapolis, Team IFA, negotiating that, and he is able to come home to Minnesota. So we start off 3 straight defensive players. Lets us know, hey, we're gonna probably address the NFL draft offensively a little bit more. We're going to pick up a lot of these guys in free agency on defense, bolster that side of the ball, and, hopefully attack the quarterback of the future in the draft. We end up signing Sam Darnold to a 1-year, $10 million deal. A lot of people indifferent about this, as if this is the long-term option for quarterback. I'm here to tell you right now that Sam Darnold is not the long-term plan at quarterback. Can you explain a little bit why the Sam Darnold signing makes sense for us, Matt?
Yeah, so like you said, there's been a lot of uproar from fans about what the heck are we doing? We go from Kirk Cousins to Sam Darnold. That's not what we're doing. It's not swapping out Kirk Cousins for Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is a piece to this equation. He's basically, I hate to say it, but a placeholder essentially, right? There's a reason that it's only a 1-year deal, and it's to add another competitive body in that quarterback room. And there's been a very fair argument that, well, Nick Mullins could do the same thing as Darnold. Yes, but I think Darnold and a lot of NFL executives still believe that they can tap into his potential. There's a reason that he was a high first-round
overall pick.
There's a lot of things that I think executives and coaches feel that they can still get out of Darnold, and that's why they want to bring him in. He did have some competitors. We had to beat out the Broncos for him. Was spoken very well in his time in San Francisco, and he pairs up with Josh McCown, who is his teammate in New York, and McCown is, very well respected in the league. So there's a lot of things that aligned for Darnold to sign a one-year deal here, and the reality is that if we can get 6 to 8 games out of him, and that's maybe the most, then I'm totally fine with that. This is not who is going to be the future of our team. It's about, can we take advantage of his upside and try to see if we can win some games out the gate so that when our rookie QB, the guy that they're putting all their eggs in a basket for, can step in and then take the reins from there. So to me, you have to understand the context of this move to truly understand that it is the right move in terms of what we have out there. And then just to touch on the defensive side, I think there's been a key theme. You've seen them target guys from about 25 to 29 and all guys that have versatility. We have seen what Brian Flores can do with the defense he was given last year, where he didn't have a lot of say in who was on that defense. Now he gets much more say into who they're adding in free agency in the draft, and we have become so much more versatile. You can see they're really targeting that front seven, and it has become so much more fun to think about the different possibilities that Flores has to work with Cashman and Pace, and then Greenard and Ginkel and whoever else that we add. You see the molds that he's looking for, and now we get to see what Flores can do with that.
100%. I'm expecting to add somewhere in the interior defensive line and possibly a corner in the secondary as well. So I don't think the additions are done yet. Back to Sam Darnold briefly. I like the term that the Minnesota Vikings, in terms of, a skill positions, front office, they're like a well-furnished apartment. I saw that analogy. I really like it because Sam Darnold, drafted in New York, playing for Adam Gase, kind of a dumpster fire up there. He gets shipped to Carolina playing for Matt Rule, who obviously struggled to have success in the NFL. This is by far the best situation that Sam Darnold has seen on an NFL team. I know he was with the 49ers, but didn't have an opportunity to really compete for the starting job. He's got Justin Jefferson. He's got Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, a newly acquired Aaron Jones, Ty Chandler. This is a great-looking offense around him, and as we were saying earlier on the interview, I don't think there's a better spot in the NFL for a quarterback than the Minnesota Vikings right now. It's got to be very attractive, and I'm sure he is fired up to take this offseason by the horns and really compete for a starting job next year. On to the Aaron Jones signing, Matt. I think we're both excited about this now, but when I first heard the buzz, I can't necessarily say I was, fired up, let's bring him in, but that's just, the hometown bias in me speaking. But Aaron Jones, playing some of the best football of his career at 29 years old, walked into AT&T Stadium in the playoffs and ran right through the Dallas Cowboys for 120 and 3 touchdowns. This guy has plenty of production left, and if he can stay healthy, he could really, really help lead our rushing attack along with Ty Chandler.
Yeah, no denying his skill on the field. I thought the Packers did him absolutely dirty. Took a pay cut this past season by $5 million, and have reportedly they wanted to cut that number down even more into either half or below half of his current salary. So obviously Aaron Jones said no to that, and they pivoted to Josh Jacobs, which is essentially a one-year deal. So they traded out Aaron Jones for Josh Jacobs, and we're going to see how that pays out. But what a job by Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell to jump in on the Packers' mistake and realize that this is still a quality running back at 29 years old, and we only signed him to a year deal. I think that's perfect, right? If he does really well, you can always re-sign him, but you're not tied into an aging running back that could potentially turn on you 2 or 3 years down the road. One-year deal at $7 million, that's one of the best bargains in the NFL, and he's going to be a perfect 1-2 punch with Ty Chandler. I always am going to enjoy when a Packer decides to come to the good side and stick it to Green Bay. So to me, he's not only going to provide, what he can do on the field, but now he's got a little bit of vengeance to him too. I love that. Add that to our locker room, get him into our team, and really see what he can do. I think it's going to be fun to watch, and we might have to get ourselves some purple sombreros.
Absolutely. You don't think he's going to be barking at some of his former teammates next year? Absolutely. 2 guaranteed shots at a revenge game for Aaron Jones. I'm fired up for him. I'm fired up to see what he does with the football. Going to a couple re-signings for the Vikings. We take care of Brandon Powell today, re-sign him to the team. We also have re-signed Blake Brandel, David Quessenberry, 2 quality depth guys on our offensive line. I really like the Brandon Powell re-signing. You look at the way he stepped up last year in clutch moments, Mr. Third Down, honestly, the way he's able to move the chains in clutch situations. He was kind of Nick Mullen's best friend at times.
Even Dobbs.
And Dobbs as well. They both really like going to him, and he was just super reliable for us, and the return ability only helps. So this was a Kevin O'Connell guy from the start, from the LA Rams, and glad to see him stick with the Vikes.
Yeah, I always thought it was the right move to bring back Brandon Powell. He's familiar with KOC's offense, like you said, very reliable last season in clutch situations. And I think he brings a little bit more of a veteran presence. So, you know, you mix that in with Addison, who's going to be coming into his second year, JJ, who is now becoming a much more bona fide veteran, but is still relatively young in the league. So keeping a little bit older guy in there is a great thing for this wide receiver room. And I think it still allows us to add a wide receiver 4 or maybe 3 to compete with Brandon Powell in the draft. So hats off to them on keeping BP in Minnesota. That likely means we could see KJ Osborne depart, unfortunately. But as it is, it's a business. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. And then, you know, with some of the other re-signings, you see us really just beefing up that interior. Nick Muse, Johnny Munt, Quessenberry, and Brandell, all really good guys that we've gotten our hands on, you know, through the draft and free agency, and guys that should not leave. And I'm glad that we re-signed all of them. Muse is still a young draft pick, still has some potential there. Johnny Munt is, you know, quoted to be the best third tight end in the league by Kevin O'Connell. And then Quessenberry did an awesome job stepping in when he was required to. And Blake Brandell has some guard and tackle flexibility. So those are reasonings for bringing back all those guys and are great depth for the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, these are those guys, everyone you just mentioned, guys that get opportunities sparingly but seem to always take advantage of them and never really make a mistake. You know, I described Johnny Munt as a turkey sandwich last week. You saw that. You know, he's never probably going to be your first option when it comes down to it, but you know, sometimes when you really need him, you're very, very glad that he is there. So Johnny Munt coming back to the team, and I love that he's regarded as the best third tight end in the league. One of the best quotes from Kevin O'Connell for sure. Looking ahead in free agency, Matt, obviously still plenty of dominoes to fall. If you had to pick a dream move right now for our next move, who would it be?
Eric Armstead. If we could sign Eric Armstead to a 2 to 3 year deal, I would be head over heels. And I would follow that up with the move to sign either Xavier Howard or Tre'Davious White. I would lean Xavier Howard because he fits our, he can play man a little bit better. Since Tre'Davious has came back from his Achilles injury, he looks more like a zone corner. No denying his skill, but maybe a little bit more limited in terms of schematics. So if we could get our hands on either Armstead or Howard, I love it. Howard's got some former experience with Flores. No denying what Armstead could do. Both of those guys would pair very well with this defense.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on Chiefs corner L'Jarius Sneed? So obviously, you know, he's been kind of made available by them. It sounds like it's going to take a second-round pick. You also got to be prepared to pay him $20+ million a year. Is that something that you'd be on board with?
I'm on board with it, but at the same time, I think I'd rather prefer to sign a veteran who can compete for that number 2 role, and that still gives you the flexibility to draft a corner in the second to fourth rounds, those middle rounds there that you can find impact players at. You know, Ennis Rakestraw Jr. out of Missouri in the second round could be a really solid option for us. Cam Hart has risen up draft boards. There's a lot of good corners in this draft, and I think you know, I would want to make sure that if we are drafting a corner that we still sign a veteran because that cornerback room is relatively young. So to me, I would be on board with L'Jarius Sneed, but the problem is that you have to pay him $20 million and give up a second-round pick. The second-round pick is really what bites me, especially with us not having a ton of top 100 picks. We need to fill those positions with rookie contracts, and I think that's where Kwesi might step in and draw the line. So again, if we can add Sneed, great. He's a bona fide, you know, CB1 on our team, but at the same time, I would not mind seeing us going to get a CB2 and a corner in the draft to pair with Byron Murphy.
I agree, and that 42nd pick is critical for us. That's a really good slot to be in. So, yeah, I totally agree with you there. I think the price is just a little bit steep. So talking about what we're going to do in the draft, it's very obvious that the Vikings are, I would say, 90% going to select a quarterback in the first round. Makes, you know, the most sense. You look at where they're going to do it. That's the tricky thing. The worst thing that we can have happen is quarterbacks come off the board 1, 2, 3. If it goes Williams, May, Daniels, or Williams, Daniels, May, then we're in a position where we may have to force our hand to trade up for J.J. McCarthy. Now, if it goes quarterback, and that third guy falls to somewhere in the 4 to 7 range, then we're in business. Because standing at 11, Falcons pick at 8. They're not picking a quarterback. They'll probably bolster that offensive line, maybe the defensive front, or add another weapon. They did just add Darnell Mooney today, but they're not selecting a quarterback. So then things really become, available for us to maybe get New York on the phone at 6. New York on the phone at 6 and Drake May, that'd be a dream come true. I'm not saying that's possible at this point, but also the signing of Sam Darnold, if we go into the draft with just Nick Mullins and Jaron Hall on the roster, we lose a lot of leverage in those trade negotiations. They could gouge us to move up because everyone knows that we are desperate for a quarterback. Now, I'm not saying we're not desperate for a quarterback as it is. We are. But it's going to take we're going to be able to save maybe a pick or two by adding Sam Darnold theoretically.
Yeah.
Because he is the bridge guy who could come in and be the starter for us week 1. I would say out of these top 5 quarterbacks, Matt, Caleb Williams is out of play for us probably. You got Jaden Daniels, Drake May, J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix. Pick your 2 favorites. Go.
I'm putting my feet in really standing on business for Drake May and J.J. McCarthy. I'm, leading up to the draft, I think those are the 2 guys that they're going to go after. And if they don't trade up, then Penix comes into the conversation. But if we're talking trade up, it's for Drake May or J.J. McCarthy. Like you said, Caleb Williams gone at 1. I think Jaden Daniels is trending to be drafted number 2 by the Commanders, which then leaves you at pick number 3 looking at Drake May, or potentially pick number 5 with the Chargers to go get J.J. McCarthy. Now, I'm going to throw a hypothetical out there and maybe give us a little bit different option here. I don't think it's as likely, but it's one that I think is interesting. At 5 is the Los Angeles Chargers, who just recently hired Harbaugh, who is their new head coach, who was the former head coach of J.J. McCarthy. Now, let's just say that Jim Harbaugh wants his guy. He doesn't want Herbert, right? Let's say he maybe wants him.
I don't see it happening, but
let's give a spin zone scenario here of instead of trading up to go get a QB, what if we trade our 11th pick to get Justin Herbert? It's crazy.
It's going to take more than that.
I know it does, but it starts with the 11th pick, right? Yeah. I know we've been talking about trading up from 11. This is a little bit of a fun spin zone on this would be that, hey, maybe, and I think it's doubtful, but if there was a veteran QB that the Vikings could target and realistically potentially be available, I think it is Justin Herbert, and that all comes down to, does Harbaugh really want JJ as his guy? Again, I think it's a long shot, more of just something to really spice things up, but at the end of the day, that would be a fun flip side to the coin there in terms of trading up. But getting back to that
would be something. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, that'd be unbelievable for us.
Also,
Harbaugh knows that the pro game is different than the college game. Walking into a scenario with Justin Herbert under contract, I have a hard time believing he'll let him walk. But I like the fun scenario for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's connections there. It at least makes it, makes somewhat sense in your head. So fun to get the wheels spinning a little bit at least there. Getting back to the trade-ups, though, if you're looking to get Drake May, I think you got to draft him at 3. So then you're looking at New England Patriots, who are rumored that if Daniels does not get to 3, they're going to be a little bit more open to trading. So I think that 3 is definitely the most realistic spot to go get Drake May. If you're not getting to 3, I think you're trading up for J.J. McCarthy at 5. I don't think he's going to get past potentially the New York Giants at 6, and the Falcons could even be in play for a guy like J.J. McCarthy to sit behind Kirk Cousins. So to me, you got to get to 3 or 5, and at the worst, maybe 7. But picks 3 and 5 seem like the most realistic to me, and I would label it down to those 2 for trade-up scenarios.
I like it a lot. I'm also a fan of Penix at value, though. And so that is, he's probably a 14 to 24 pick, somewhere in there.
He's a guy you could trade back.
I would imagine. He might even fall further than that. And if he makes his way to the second round, I mean, obviously you're playing a very dangerous game waiting for him and trying to find the right spot to trade in and get him. But, Penix at value and coming in and competing for the job right away, I think would be, pretty damn cool. And I think that he has the arm and the NFL-ready ability to come in and probably win that job over Darnold, I would think, right away. He's got the swagger to him. And if we get in a situation where we get a good value for him, I think that, it's kind of a no-brainer at that point.
Yeah, if we're not trading up, he's number 1 on my board for trading back, getting an extra second to third round pick and taking him in the late first. And the reason I say late first is that you want to draft a QB in the first round if you're going to take one for that extra year of that rookie QB contract. So I think if they're going to find a value QB, it's going to be at the very end of that first round so that they can secure that extra year of that cheap contract. But again, I'm totally on board with, hey, if they don't want to have to give up a bunch of assets, let's add an extra second or third round pick to draft a corner or a defensive tackle to help bolster that defense. And then you still get a guy in Penix who, like you said, could jump into that offense, operate, and potentially win that job from the get-go. So it all is going to come down to who are they putting their eggs in a basket for, because at the end of the day, they have made it very clear that this is their opportunity, that they're going to go and take a chance on their guy. Now it's just figuring out who is that guy.
For sure. It's going to really be interesting. I got one more question for you, but first.
The Vikes Verified podcast is also sponsored by Will Anderson Insurance, a Minnesota-made company. He is from White Bear Lake. If you're looking for insurance, look no further than Will Anderson. Simply put, Will insures you the same way he'd insure his own family, and he'll explain insurance to you so it makes sense like he's reading you a children's book. Will Anderson is your best bet for home, auto, or commercial insurance. And while we can't promise he'll save you money, let's just say that you should for sure get a quote. Call 612-361-7283 or visit www.willandersonagency.com.
All right, Matt, I got one more question for you. We talked about the importance of this 42nd pick and what a nice slot it is to be in. Give me 3 players off the top of your head that are a favorite for you at pick 42.
I would say Darius Robinson, the defensive tackle / defensive end from Missouri. He's a strong one at 42. Second would be T'Vondre Sweat, another big guy at 42 that could be available and could be an impact player up the middle. And I'm going to finish it off with Ennis Rakestraw Jr., another Missouri Tiger, who is a very fiery cornerback, plays with a lot of swagger. I think would bring a lot of good things to this defense and could play man coverage very well.
Yeah, and I agree with those totally. T'Vondre Sweat would be an absolute piece for Brian Flores. You look at him weighing in at 370 pounds at the combine, ran a 5.27, and I can't tell if that hurt his stock or helped it. I think a lot of people were expecting him to run a little bit closer to 5 at that size, which is absolutely absurd, but still a hell of a time at 366 pounds. I'll put this in perspective for Vikings fans. Pat Williams was 318 pounds when he played football for the Vikings. Maybe 325, 330 at his heaviest. This guy is 40 pounds heavier than Pat Williams and is probably 2 inches taller as well. Talk about a guy that's, you could line him up as a true zero nose guard, and he's just absolutely plugging gaps. All he needs to do is shuffle side to side, and he's pretty much going to do his job. So T'Vondre Sweat at 42 would be awesome. And I like Rakestraw as well. I have a feeling that he maybe won't get past those early 30s, but who knows? I think a blessing, if it happened, would be Braden Fisk dropping to 42. I don't really see that with the way he's been testing. Ran a 4.78 at 300 pounds, damn near. I mean, he's going to be a great player as well. But there's going to be a lot of cool options for us there. You could also look at a guy in Kool-Aid McKinstry if he falls a little bit.
Kool-Aid.
Alabama guy who's mocked to be a top 10, top 15 pick at one point. So there's a lot of options. You can also look at Roman Wilson there. He's kind of a Jaden Reed comparison receiver. I don't really think that we're going to go receiver that early. Yeah. But there's going to be fun options at 42, and I think that's a very critical pick for us. So very excited to see what shakes out here. We got about a month and a half until the first round of the NFL draft. Free agency continues to stay hot, and I really like the way that the Minnesota Vikings have attacked this. They've kind of laid out a plan for the future, saying, we're going to move on from some of these veterans that were, mainstays in the Zimmer-Spielman era, and we're going to create and cultivate our own roster with our own brand of guys. Like you said, Quasi's got that type 25 to 29 versatile players, and I think we're just going to try to build a roster full of those. And if you get this quarterback pick right in the first round, there's no reason we can't be a damn good team next year.
Yeah, it's a new era in Minnesota Vikings football. I think they're off to a hot start by making a bunch of valuable defensive additions and, like we said, putting all their eggs in a basket to go get their guy. It's going to come down to what they can do with who they select and seeing if he can be that bona fide QB. But everything that they're doing around him is correct. We are positioned for $100 million plus in cap space next year, and potentially a really stellar rookie QB leading the charge for seasons to come. So a lot of things to be excited about in Vikings territory. Things are just beginning to heat up here as the next few weeks. I'm sure we'll have more signings, more trade rumors, and much more coming from the Minnesota Vikings. So stay tuned on our Instagram, YouTube, and all of our social channels there as we keep you dialed in on the Minnesota Vikings.
Yep, this is episode 81 of the Vikes Verified podcast. Thank you for listening. We're looking forward to the next one. Skol Vikings.
Skol.
You're listening to the Vikes Verified podcast.